change business, travel, or interchanges. Yet, one thing's without a doubt, it will be around for a long time. Of course, next to no gets that far. Most creations that begin solid eventually cease to exist. These 10 brands and developments were enormously effective from the outset. However, when the public's enthusiasm for their curiosity ceased to exist, these things failed miserably, as well. In obscurity days before gadgets like Tivo were presented, it was difficult to record live TV. What's more, simply disregard stopping it to go to the washroom or get a tidbit. Tivo changed all that with its presentation of advanced video recorder innovation, which altered how we watch television. With a Tivo connected to your TV, you could record various stations without a moment's delay, making it practically difficult to miss a most loved show. Considerably more amazing, the framework made it conceivable to skip ads, an element that everybody appreciated. Tivo's marking was fruitful to the point that it turned into an action word. Individuals would state that they TIVOD something to observe later. Tragically, it was not to last. As computerized innovation kept on developing, DVRs turned out to be generally unnecessary. Tivo adjusted to the occasions, though gradually, and saw its piece of the pie drop significantly. At that point, in 2016, Rovi got Tivo for a cool $1.1 billion and changed Rovi's organization name to Tivo Corporation. As the new Tivo Corporation zeroed in on authorizing its innovation instead of creating equipment, it turned into an alluring takeover target itself. In 2020, Tivo Corporation finished a $3 billion merger with Sperry Corporation, a firm that represented considerable authority in authorizing tech and licensed innovation. The new organization is called Sperry Holding Corporation. The joint substance will keep on utilizing the Tivo brand for customer confronting advanced amusement items and administrations. In any case, not the first Tivo advanced video recorder that so huge numbers of us knew and cherished. That is a tech dinosaur cleared out by the space rock of progress. Google Glass appeared with a monstrous measure of media consideration and buzz in 2012. The organization's ostentatious item demo included skydivers streaming their hops through the device. The item was advertised as much for its oddity and restrictiveness concerning its innovation, and the public gobbled it up. Alleged glass explorers were allowed to demo a model for 1 month before it was made accessible to the general population. Tech lovers clamored for their set. Google Glass had a coordinated 5-megapixel still/720p camcorder. In any case, that center component was likewise a huge issue. Protection concerns emerged when the item initially got famous, as the gadget was actually disregarding existing security laws in some areas. Another main consideration in finishing Google Glass was its robust $1,500 sticker price. All the show and far-reaching public enthusiasm for the gadget ceased to exist rather rapidly. By 2015, Google Glass was viably dead as a buyer electronic gadget. At once, nearly everybody with an internet association had a Myspace page. The online media stage was the first of its sort. From 2005 until 2009, it was the biggest on the planet and flaunted in excess of 100 million clients for each month. In 2005, it was bought by News Corporation for $580 million. Myspace was as pervasive then as Google and Facebook are currently, and it was a money-making machine. In 2008, the organization produced $800 million in income. It was esteemed at $12 billion at its stature, making it one of the biggest internet tech organizations on Earth. However, it wasn't to last. Despite being a persuasive pioneer in the domain of web-based media, MySpace saw a stamp decrease in clients in 2009 and passed. Facebook appeared suddenly to supersede MySpace as the go-to online media network, and that has stayed valid for more than a decade. MySpace was sold in 2011 to Specific Media Group and Justin Timberlake by means of a joint buy for $35 million. The sharp decrease in the organization's valuation couldn't have been more evident. In fact, MySpace is still near. It creates promotion income, however far not exactly at its pinnacle. Albeit numerous individuals perusing this are most likely wearing an Apple or Samsung smartwatch, quite possibly somebody is wearing a Pebble. In 2012, Pebble turned into the most subsidized Kickstarter result ever when its makers raised $10 million on the platform. At the time, smartwatches were simply starting to surface available. Through the Kickstarter lobby, Pebble had the option to develop a monstrous after. The deluge of cash made it feasible for the organization to improve its idea further, and supporters started getting their watches in mid-2013. From there, the organization dispatched more watches straightforwardly to the general population and even started another Kickstarter crusade in 2015 that produced $20.3 million. Stone was bringing in cash and hoped to harden its place in the smartwatch marketplace. By the next year, Pebble was everything except gone. Money-related issues required the arrival of assets got by means of Kickstarter, and everything was closed somewhere near December 2016. Fitbit bought the organization's licensed innovation, and Pebble is presently old. Rock flopped because of absence of capital and Apple's entrance into the commercial center, which redirected Pebble's clients even as Apple extended the market. But from the remains of Pebble rose the phoenix of Rebel. Ex-representatives, fans, and engineers congregated on GitHub to supplant the web benefits previously gave by Pebble to their smartwatches. In spite of the fact that the first Pebble equipment will inevitably pass on, this propelled Circle of Rebel's plans to make a Rebel OS to run on a future form of watch hardware. Rebel's upper hand is indistinct now. The gathering's motivation, Pebble, was at first intended to contend at a much lower value point than Apple items. Likewise, as engineer Joshua Wise explained the Apple Watch. Also, Android Wear needed you to connect with them, to make them the focal point of your life. The Pebble needs to not in the least be essential for your life, up until it accomplishes something helpful for you, and afterward it releases you back to your life. Nintendo has made a portion of the world's most imaginative approaches to play computer games. The organization brought back the computer game industry following the market crash in the mid-1980s, yet not all things made by Nintendo is beneficial. The Wii U, for instance, was an enormous disappointment. However, it scarcely enlists when contrasted with the debacle that was the Virtual Boy. In 1995, Nintendo delivered one of its weirdest, generally awkward, and most frightfully planned results ever in the Virtual Boy. The gadget was showcased as an augmented experience style of gaming, yet it wasn't virtual in any way. Rather, it offered stereoscopic 3D glasses, like those found in cinemas, to show 32-bit red graphics. Players would incline toward the head-mounted framework and play with the connected regulator. The framework utilized a parallax impact to recreate the hallucination of profundity, however all it truly did was give players a beating headache. When it was delivered, the Virtual Boy was promoted as a development in augmented reality gaming. Yet, the framework was awful. It hit the market in an inadequate state on the grounds that the organization needed to zero in on the Nintendo 64. Just 22 games were made, and the framework was dropped inside a year. Individuals have been wrongfully replicating programming since the time it was conceivable to do as such. The equivalent is valid for computerized music, which rose in prominence during the 1990s gratitude to MP3s. Individuals downloaded and shared this music broadly on different stages. However, the most mainstream one was Napster. The organization was established in 1999 and turned into the essential hotspot for distributed document sharing on the web. At its pinnacle, this fiercely mainstream programming had around 80 million enrolled clients. Obviously, it wasn't without debate. Napster turned into the objective of legitimate concerns when Metallica sued. The band was trailed by Dr. Dre and others, yet the exposure just served to build Napster's utilization. Most cases were privately addressed any outstanding issues. Yet, one endured the lawful framework to nail the stage with robust fines and a directive, which made the organization shut down in 2002. Once the fines were paid, Napster returned on the web and inevitably offered its advantages for Bertelsmann for $85 million. Quite a long while later, Best Buy procured Napster for $121 million, however the organization has since been offered to Melody VR. As of 2020, their system has moved away from a direct-to-purchaser model. Rather, the new organization seems, by all accounts, to be conveying music gushing through colleagues who may white-mark the administration. Consider it like your supermarket offering items to you under their store name when the merchandise are really fabricated by different organizations. As of this composition, Zombie Napster is doing that with music streaming. Before everybody had a GPS tracker in their pockets, individuals utilized an age-old innovation known as a paper guide to get around. Until the 21st century, the vast majority had a guide or two in their vehicles consistently, yet MapQuest changed all that sort of. MapQuest went online in 1996, and it offered free planning administrations to its clients. Individuals could go to the site, enter their objective, and print out a guide with bit-by-bit guidelines on the best way to get there. Before MapQuest got well known, an individual could just depend on another person's headings to discover their direction or utilize a guide to decide their course ahead of time. MapQuest was inventive and generally utilized. AOL bought the organization in 2000 for $1.10 billion. By 2008, the vast majority who had recently depended on MapQuest for direction moved to utilizing different projects. Google Maps assumed control over the commercial center, and MapQuest generally vanished, having been replaced by GPS Tech. Granted, MapQuest adjusted to GPS. Despite the fact that the organization keeps on making a little benefit, it's far shy of where it was at the go of the century. Nowadays, a PDA is less a telephone and more a minuscule and amazing PC that happens to settle on telephone decisions. Thinking back to the 90s, in any case, the idea of a PC in the pocket was considered outlandish, that is, until the Palm Pilot was launched. In 1996, the first Palm Pilot personal digital assistant was delivered. Purchasers wondered about its unfathomable capacities, which appear to be out of date contrasted with what's accessible today. The first Palms didn't have illuminated screens and were restricted by a limit of 512 KB of RAM and sequential interchanges ports. Although these gadgets were similarly antiquated, they were mechanical wonders for the time. The public gobbled them up. Palm Pilots caused it conceivable to compose plans, to send and get email, in the long run, send things to printers, and take notes. so they were exceptionally esteemed in the realm of business. The organization made due into the 21st century, yet Palm innovation was immediately outperformed by headways in cell phones. HP obtained Palm in 2010 yet pulverized it by 2011. Then HP sold the Palm brand name to Chinese aggregate TCL. They're attempting to resuscitate the Palm brand, yet it holds little influence in the commercial center as not many individuals are hoping to supplant their cell phones with a Palm. Today, with the press of a catch, you can observe nearly anything whenever. In any case, it wasn't generally similar to that. Delivered in 1975, the main item that led countless customers' record and watch programs later was the Betamax. The following year, JVC Supponent Configuration, VHS, was presented. Even after that occurred, Sony's Betamax innovation was the best quality level in video recording and playback. It upset how individuals expended TV during the 1970s and mid-80s. As VHS was a contender, the amazing tape design war broke out among Sony and JVC to figure out which would overwhelm the commercial center. Betamax had prevalent account quality with 250 lines versus VHS's 240. Yet, at long last, that didn't make a difference. Cost turned into the most significant factor. Despite being a predominant arrangement, Betamax lost the tape design war basically on the grounds that the gear was more costly. Customers needed something more reasonable, and that is the thing that they got in VHS. Betamax is since a long time ago ancient as a chronicle innovation. For a period, however, it was one of the most creative and significant media advances ever imagined since the TV. Nowadays, scarcely any individuals under 40 think a lot about it. In any case, the equivalent could be said of VHS over the long haul. In 2001, Dean Kamen acquainted the world with the Segway, a two-wheeled, self-adjusting individual transportation gadget. The purported human carrier was apparently an inconceivable development. It offered a methods for driving inside a metropolitan situation in an imaginative way. The Segway turned into a mainstream society symbol very quickly. It was highlighted in a scene of South Park and numerous different shows and motion pictures. Steve Jobs once called it as large an arrangement as the PC, which was high acclaim originating from him. Afterward, he withdrew his announcement by saying the Segway sucked. Still, the Segway was a serious deal at first. With its energized season of 4 to 6 hours and a maximum velocity of 16 kilometers for each hour, 10 miles per hour, it was a helpful gadget. In spite of the fact that the public enjoyed the Segway, it was restrictively costly, costing around $5,000 or more for another unit. Instead of turning into another method of transportation for individuals in the city, Segways turned into the new way that security faculty got around. There are additionally Segway visits in numerous urban areas. Be that as it may, the item never figured out how to turn into the following individual shopper electronic gadget. Segway was ceased in 2020.